Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hi, it's Dawn here, and I'm joined, as always, by my trusted partner, Matt Pickett. How you doing, Maddie? How was your week?
Pretty good. This has been an exciting week because the Packers are here in Cincinnati with their joint practice they did yesterday, which I was not at. Kind of wish I would have gone. I was actually at a Reds game at the same time, like next door, basically. It's kind of weird. It was a work trip to go do that. So that was fun, but so just knowing that they're here and like all of our favorite beat reporters are here, almost all of our favorite beat reporters are here, and just kind of the energy around that has been really exciting. And I'm going to the preseason game tomorrow night in Paycor Stadium. So just like that's a lot of excitement. And then on top of that, I think even more exciting is that today is my older kid's 11th birthday. So festivities, have been happening throughout the week, and they're going to have their first like sleepover birthday party tomorrow night, which is pretty exciting. It's like a big deal. So
Wow.
there's just a lot of excitement around the Pickett house around Cincinnati this week. So big week.
I love it.
And how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I have had company this week back from Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just checking the map again because I gave them zoo tickets for the famous San Diego Zoo today and sent them on the train. But I've been escorting them on the train here and there, so they're fine with it. And then I noticed they didn't get off on the right stop.
Ooh.
But I think they did it on purpose because they've been staying in the village. I think they must have decided to have dinner, but she didn't tell me. She's been kind of like sending, like when they go in the Uber or whatever, how you share your ride.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden she went off the map. But I'm sure she's fine because she's only like 5 minutes. She's got her granddaughter with her, so I'm kind of overly protective. She's got a little one with her, so yeah.
I mean, you should be. You got to watch out for that kind of stuff. So.
Oh yeah,
sure.
especially on a train or something. But yeah, so it's been a fun week seeing my friend, and I was super excited when she came. She brought her. I went down to the airport. What was it, Monday? And then Tuesday morning, I hope I have my days right, but it doesn't really matter. I could just make all this crap up.
Maybe you are. Maybe every week, all the stuff you say is completely fabricated. And maybe what you actually do is you're a witness informant. What is it? You're in witness security with relocation. So you have to make up stuff. And maybe it's the case that you are actually a spy, which wouldn't surprise me from all your previous stories. Anyhow, I'm totally stepping all over your week. Go ahead.
I would love to be a spy. I would love to have been. I wouldn't want to be one right now.
Sure.
What was I talking about?
Sorry, that's my bad. I'm so sorry.
It's not important. It's not at all important. It'll come to me, but yeah. So yeah, all good. So Tuesday she had a private surf lesson at my friend's surf school.
Ooh.
And so she loved it. And then we had a great dinner last night at one of my favorite places to bring, especially somebody who comes from out of town. It's just a really nice restaurant and in the village. And so it's been nice. It's been great.
Excellent.
Yeah, they're leaving tomorrow, which is why I can't come to Cincinnati. That's my excuse. I'm getting.
Oh, come on.
I have to be here. I didn't know how the week was going to turn out exactly. So yeah, so I'll see them tomorrow. They're not leaving until like 6 at night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
plenty of time with them then. Still,
it's fun to have company.
It is.
I don't get, surprisingly, I don't get tons of company here. You would think people would be always wanting to come here.
You live in paradise, first of all, and it's always nice there, and you have flower fields, and you're there, Dawn. So come on.
It's funny. I've been here a long, long time, so I used to get company all the time. So over the years, it just feels like nobody ever visits me anymore. I'm sounding like my mother.
Also mine.
Are you gonna visit? No, it's a lot. It's a whole different world out here, and it's kind of cool. They're from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So that
Mm-hmm.
they had a farm, I believe, and he sold it. Her husband sold the farm, and she works with me with skincare with
Mm-hmm.
the company that's based out of Wisconsin. But so even though San Diego really isn't a big city, it's 4 million people. So for her, doing all this stuff is kind of fun and different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everyone though. Some people get all rattled if they're.
Eau Claire, at least.
She said next time she's coming without the grandkid. Just us. So I am just so ridiculously excited that there's football on tonight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't have the games going because the first two teams I was like, I don't want to see the Houston Texans and the Patriots.
I know, like that's not the most interesting matchup, I think, but
I'm
teams
definitely
with good defense, right? I know that the Patriots defense is really good. Are the Texans, is their defense supposed to be kind of good this year?
I don't remember what they're supposed to be doing this year. They've just been so bad for a few years.
For so long.
So I kind of tuned them out. But so exciting. So you went to the Cincinnati's Reds game. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And did they win?
No, it was a bummer because the Reds were ahead for most of the game, and then in the 8th inning, the Marlins, who were the visiting team, tied it up, and then I had to leave at the top of the 9th, so I didn't see how it ended, but it ended with the Marlins getting a home run, I think, like right away, and then that was just kind of like basically the end of the game, more or less. Like nothing else happened after that. So I was there for just the fun part, seeing the inning where they got 3 points in that one inning, and spending time with my colleagues off campus is always wonderful. Team building, relationship building. Like I love that stuff. And, given the sort of like pacing of a typical baseball game, it's kind of leisurely compared to like watching other sports. So a lot of times we're just kind of like chit chatting, hanging out, eating, hot dogs and stuff like that. So it was a lovely time. I had really, really nice time there, except for the fact that it was super hot for some reason. But other than that, great.
I heard that practice was hot too.
Yes.
Whew. Yeah, that'd be hard to play in that, especially full uniforms.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I mean, Florida teams, because Florida's really hot. Well, it's not that hot by me. It's a little hotter in LA, which is weird because it's more north of here, but it has to do with the shape of the coast and all that.
Sure.
But I just feel like Arizona, it's just a weird team for a football team. To me, I think we've talked about this on other episodes. To me, football kind of means winter. Probably from my childhood memories, and the Ice Bowl.
I say the Ice Bowl, exactly. That's like a formative memory for you.
Indelible. Yeah.
Winter.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird in the equipment that they have to wear. It's stifling.
That makes me think of like marching band in high school, because the high school I went to, it was a summer marching band program. Like we didn't do much in the fall at all, nothing in the spring. It was just like we were doing stuff in the summer, and that was like full heavy wool, full body, long sleeve, long pants, everything, hats, uniforms for our competitions, and worse was parades, because those in the middle of the day. At least the competitions were at night. So middle of the day marching down, blacktop, basically, with this ridiculous outfit on. Man, that was sweaty times.
I had a friend who her grandparents lived across the street from me, but she was there a lot, and she was in one of those band type of things. And I met a bunch of her friends through that. And I would go up and see them, and I'd be like, oh my God, that seems really hard. I mean, I complain if, I haven't done any races for a couple of years, but if it's, like 80 here, which is kind of rare, but in August you can get 80. We haven't hit it yet, but you're right, because the black top. And I'm not wearing hardly, just little shorts and a tank top, right? In super cool clothes that are developed so you don't get hot in them, which they should. I don't know why bands have to wear all that heavy.
Tradition's a hell of a drug, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's crazy. Anywho, yes. Well, okay. So we had a lot of because we had practice and a practice with another team, and our first preseason game this week. We had a lot of good coverage and content to consume this week. So I'm going to go first if it's okay with you.
I would love that. Yeah, it's been a content fire hose. You're not wrong about that. So I'm really excited to hear about what you brought this week, Dawn.
Okay. So I'm calling this the best game. And it was Andy Herman's Pack-A-Day podcast I watched on YouTube. And he called it Fact or Fiction.
Yes,
and his guests were Perry Goldstein and Alex Strofe. And it was really great. I think he had, was it 10 questions or 5? I can't remember. It went for a while. It was a fantastic episode. I'm not going to give anything away in case you didn't listen to it or watch it. You can watch it on YouTube, and I'm sure you can listen to it as a podcast. But it was a super fun show, and I loved how he kind of did it as a game show. And there was a lot of laughs and just a lot of really good tidbits. Like one of the things that stood out to me is that Perry Goldstein said she wasn't at all worried about the kicker. Right. And I'm like stressing about the kicker. I was like, oh, that makes me feel better because she certainly knows a lot more about football than I do. So if she's not worried, I'm not going to worry. And then I listened to it prior to yesterday's practice where he just nailed 8 out of 9 kicks or something like that. He did really well. So it sounds to me like and so that was one of my takeaways, and you got to listen to it for more. But I'm really happy. One of the things it seems like, and I think I got this from other coverage after the practice, probably from Wes and Mike from Packers.com. And one of the things I picked up on is that when the lights are on and when it's time to shine, he will show up and do the job.
Yeah, Anders Carlson definitely shows up at when it matters so far, and it seems to when it's like the higher pressure things, he's really doing well, which is interesting. I'm here for it. Let's keep that going.
Well, I guess he had to play in front of huge crowds. For whatever, was it not Penn State? Who did he play for?
Oh, you think I'd know that? Keep talking. I'll look it up real fast.
Never mind. Yeah. Anyway, but that's it. So, yeah, I really enjoyed Fact or Fiction with Andy Herman and Perry and Alex as guests, who I love both of those two for content. So it was a great episode. Did you catch that one?
Yeah, I did. And in fact, I'll have more to say about it a little bit later. Spoiler alert. But okay, so yeah, Anders Carlson played at Auburn. Yeah, massive
Auburn.
Program, so
big
deal.
Crowds. Big crowds.
Yeah. But no, that was an exceptional episode. I'll have more to say about it later. So that was a good one, Dawn. All right, I love that. So my first one then is best read. So Albert Breer, who writes for Sports Illustrated, did this amazing article about Jordan Love, and the title is "The Moment the Packers Knew Jordan Love Was Ready to Take Over for Aaron Rodgers." So this article gets into like more of the psychology, more of like what the Packers saw from Jordan Love last season, especially in the Philly game, that told them. Like, it wasn't about Aaron Rodgers, like, wasn't good anymore. It was more like, well, we can see that Jordan Love is ready to take on the job. Like, we feel good about him taking over. And a lot of it came down to what the story starts with, which was that at the beginning of every season, one thing that Matt LaFleur does with the quarterbacks is goes through the playbook and has them kind of rank the plays, like what I'm really comfortable with, like what I'm not comfortable with, like, please don't call this if I'm in the game. And so there was a particular play that was going to work really well against the Eagles based on how their defense was playing. And so like Matt LaFleur was seeing this, he was seeing like, oh, we could use that. That would really be effective. But it was on Jordan Love's like list of like, don't call this plays. Matt LaFleur said, okay, look, I said, like, I've got one. I think it's going to work great. I'm not quoting, obviously it was more succinct than this, but like, I've got one. It's going to work great. Like, do you trust me? And Jordan Love said, yes, like, let's do this. I think the quote was like, let's let this play eat or something like that, which I think is great. So called it, and then Jordan Love executed it extremely well, picked up like 17 yards or something like that on the play. And that was like a real like crystallizing moment for Matt LaFleur, for Brian Gutekunst. And it was a thing that like they kept referring back to in the weeks after that. And, into the beginning of the offseason, saying like, look, this thing happened. He had the strength, the courage, the confidence to like rip off this play that he had originally said, like, don't do this. and nailed it and did it all without any complaining and just like said, let's go for it. And so for them, that was like a spark that was like, yeah, we're good to move on. So that's kind of like where the story starts. And it just like builds out from there, more about like how other people on the team had seen him, how they seen his development, going into like how that moment affected the thinking for various people, including Jordan Love, and how that has become like a touchstone. So, and then of course, contrasting that against just like how the game against the Patrick Mahomes team solely just what are we called? Chiefs. The Chiefs. My goodness. Woo, brain just stopped working. Against the Chiefs the previous season was such a, such a rough time for him. So seeing like this growth that he's done, and of course not just in those two games, but through practice and stuff like that. And in this last season when Aaron Rodgers was not practicing because of his broken thumb, when Jordan Love was leading the ones in practice for that. So a really, really in-depth article, a lot of amazing quotes, a lot of really great nuggets. So Albert Breer just nailed it out of the park. Is the best read of the week by far. No one came close. No one touched it. It was amazing. So I highly recommend that, as you can tell based on how much I am talking about it still.
I'm going to read it. I heard a couple of people refer back to it this week, so it must be that good, that exact tidbit. And I felt like that's come up a few times. And I think it mostly, it's about that coach-player relationship. And that trust, and that hasn't been there for so long. Not that there wasn't, not that Rodgers didn't have trust. Right. I'm not saying that, but it's just he's a superstar, and so he had his.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different. So it's just kind of cool to see all of that develop. It's so exciting, to start afresh.
It really is.
And to hear how willing he is to just take direction and. Try something, because that's coaches will do that in gymnastics or soccer or any sport. Like, just, you can do this, just try it, and it wasn't like he questioned it when he said, I don't really want to do this one. He let him rate the plays, but when you're in the moment and you rise to that occasion, I think that's what it was all about. He really knows how to rise to the occasion, and he stays cool under pressure. I was wondering, I'm so into body language, intangibles and things like that. And when they showed the little clip of the players coming out yesterday before practice, the practice between the Packers and the Bengals, I noticed that when the camera went to Jordan walking in to probably the dressing room or whatever you call it, the locker room. Sorry, it was costume designer. It's like a football player. He had a bottle of Perrier, and he's like, put the Perrier up as he walked by. He didn't just walk by like the rest of the teams. And there's a lot you could read into that, like from but I was like, does he need bubbly water? Does he have a stomach ache? Is he nervous? I was like, why does he have to? Is he nervous? He must. I'm sure he's got nerves for days, right? But it doesn't seem like it when he gets out there. Like I didn't hear that much about the practice. I mean, as much as I could handle today, but it sounded like he did really well. He didn't fall apart.
Yeah, it sounds like, based on what the Bengals players were saying about him, and so like I think they were fairly impressed. You got a lot of really positive comments from them.
Yeah,
and,
I saw that.
Like listening to say Tom Silverstein talking about it on the Green 19 podcast today, it sounds like Jordan Love didn't have any amazing moments and like super incredible throws, but was just solid the whole time. Didn't screw anything up. Just was, I think, solid is probably the best way to put it. So you love to see that. I mean, some amazing shot plays are fun or whatever, but if he's just holding his own in their first practice against another team, that's pretty good. Pretty happy about that for the beginning of his real actual real career.
Yeah, his debut. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, all he has to do is keep it together, and he's doing it. He's doing it.
He's doing it.
I love it. Go, Jordan, keep it together. I think he can do way more than that, and I think he will.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Keeping it together, bare minimum, is great. But it's understandable if he wouldn't the first year, or at least the first half a year or two. So yeah, I love it. I love it.
And Don, speaking of that practice and speaking of keeping it together, how about Elton Jenkins getting into 2 fights and getting ejected? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I replayed it several times. It was really hard to see what happened. I was zooming in. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened, but I meant to listen to Reader because they did interview him afterwards. I forgot to listen to those. I'll have to do that later tonight. I was gone last night. So I mean, I don't know exactly what happened, but it sounded to me like Reader threw a punch at him.
Yeah, then he went that was the first fight. Yeah, was that Reader attacked him because from what I understand here is that Elton Jenkins like pancaked Reader, and the Reader's upset. He's like, "What are we doing? Like this is practice. Like we're not trying to go full strength here." So I think he's upset about that, and like went after Elton Jenkins. And of course, the Packers like swarmed, like, "Hey, you know, we'll fight you, back off," basically. And I think they managed to like kind of come out of that, you know, not too crazy. But then it sounds like, you know, of course, Elton Jenkins was kind of like, he was heated at that point. He's like a pretty level guy, you know, and like super like chill in the locker room from all accounts, you know.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he was kind of heated, and I think the Bengals were poking him and trying to like get him to go off again, and it worked. And he went and like punched the dude like in the helmet, which is like the stupidest thing you can do, you know. So it didn't break his hand, fortunately. Yeah. So then he got kicked out for good reason. You can't go fighting like that. Like one fight, you're gonna expect that, but like, come on, man. So, but a lot of people are saying like, you know, they love that it shows that, yeah, he's got that dog in him. You know, the team, like, you know, they got some dog in all of them, I guess. I don't know, but you know, the fact that there's some fight, a lot of people are encouraged by it, and you know, I can get on board with that. I'm okay with that. Like, let's see a team that is really gonna be aggressive and go out there and work hard and you know, put their heart into it. Like, sure, let's go with that. That's a good take.
I mean, yeah, and I can understand that too, because I think sometimes the criticism of the Packers is that they're a little bit soft,
right? Exactly.
Pampered. So yeah, it doesn't sound like this team is going to be that way. But I don't want to see them getting ejected during games when we need them. Yeah. I don't like fighting, but yeah, I was trying to just figure out what was going on, but I wasn't home last night, and I got home a little late, so I didn't get to really listen. I have them on my queue to listen to the interviews of both the Bengals and the Packers players afterwards.
Well, the one DJ Reader is, I didn't hear, but I saw some quotes from it. It's funny because he's, you know, he has this quote now that like is really circulating about like, who is this Elton Jenkins guy? He's just a guy. He's a Jag. Like, then he goes off and like says, you know, sure, he was like a 2-time Pro Bowler, which is like, wait, so you know who he is, or you don't know who he is? Like, what you seem to know like what he's done. So, so he started like really angry about that, but then got into like talking about how Jordan Love was doing a really good job. So it's like, okay, it's kind of a mixed bag of emotions here coming from but you know, Elton Jenkins is not just a guy, but he's serious. He's legit, as we know, and as he should know. He probably does know. He's just being a jerk. So.
Did Quay Walker get involved?
Not, you know, Quay Walker's been like in a much better headspace. It sounds like he's.
I hope so. I hope they're all in a good headspace that way, because we just don't want anything stupid.
Yes.
You know, happening. Yeah, but the quiet types, the calm types.
Yeah, sometimes there's
passive
that rage.
Types. You push too far.
Yeah, exactly.
You push too far, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, you can't. That's funny. I can't wait to get off because I want to read that article and listen to those interviews. I couldn't catch up on it. Okay, let's see. What do I have?
Yeah, what's your second one? What do you got?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so most grounding.
Okay.
Most grounding goes to Tom Grossi. Now, Tom is super funny and super entertaining, and then he did the 30 in 30 and all of the fundraising and the animal love and just all of the stuff he does. But let's not forget, this was a good reminder, this little piece, and I think it was maybe 16 minutes. It was one of his little gems. He's got a great mind. He really knows his stuff as far as football, not just the Packers, but other teams too. But he did a piece called Let's Talk About Jordan Love. And it was just like a nice, concise summary of where he came from, where he's at, and what to expect. And it was just a really nice reality check, and I felt like it was the most grounding. And I know we're big fans of Andy Herman and Tom Grassi, but there's a reason they come up on our superlatives a lot. I'm not going to be ashamed of it, but because it, some people just see his comedy or, all of the things he does, and then you forget how. I mean, this is why he was one of the persons I followed and really learned a lot about football from, is because he is so knowledgeable. So that's a nice little 16-minute piece, which I'll have a link to in our show notes too.
That's the thing that I like a lot about the stuff that Tom records and puts out there. So apart from the streaming that he does, it's mostly easily digestible. I'll sometimes scroll through YouTube, when I'm eating lunch at work, and come across a Tom Grassi thing, or if he drops one on Twitter that I happen to see, I'll usually just watch them because they're always it's easy to take in, and they're always high quality. So I haven't seen that one, but I will check it out for sure.
Yeah. So that is most grounding. So best game and most grounding. What do you have for us next, Maddie?
Before I do it, real quickly, a quick note about Tom Grassi while we're at it is this week I took a little bit of time to start getting caught up. That is to say, starting from the beginning of his coach saga. He has 5 seasons he's done of this. I hadn't seen any of it yet, so I was like, I gotta check this out. Give this a try. I got through the first season and a little bit into the second season, and I'm hooked. I can't wait to get a chance to keep watching more of it, kind of see where the story goes. It is not at all what I expected it to be, but I don't know what I expected it to be. It's surprisingly dark in a way that I was not prepared for. So, but I'm really enjoying it so far. Can't wait to pick it back up again.
Cool.
But anyhow, my next superlative here. What do I have? Best analogy. Okay, this had me laughing out loud. So, Reporting is Eligible, one of my favorite podcasts, came back this week to start their new season, and of course the show has Matub, who was recently on our show, who is a fascinating, hilarious person. Paul Noonan, one of the sharpest minds and best with analytics in our community, and also J.R. Radcliffe, trending sports reporter. And it's just their chemistry across the three of them is amazing, and they're all so friggin' smart. And they're all smart different ways too, which I love. So for example, Matub will just reel off these random references, and I'd like to say I get most of them actually. He hit a high fidelity one this week that I really appreciated. But the thing he said was best analogy, he's talking about the Packers defense, and I think specifically the secondary. And what he said was something like the Packers have built a secondary basically that's like the 3-headed hellhound Cerberus, except the middle head is filled with mashed potatoes for brains.
Oh no!
It was just so perfect. We have these amazing corners who are among the best in the entire league, and then our safeties, Though I will say, I do want to say as a side note, I'm really encouraged by what we're seeing from Jonathan Owens,
right?
Which they on the show have decided to start calling him SBH. Simone Biles' husband. Because who doesn't love Simone Biles?
He wouldn't mind that. I could tell he would not mind that one bit.
If I was married to Simone Biles, I'd be cool with that too. The fact that he's looking good. He's looking like a competent safety, which is something we need. So I hope that helps him stick around, because just for me, even though I'm going to live there, the idea of Simone Biles being in Green Bay just makes me really happy, because I love her.
Seeing her with the jersey on.
Oh my God. Yes.
I know. It's she's ours for a while.
Just makes you so happy.
I know.
So that analogy about Cerberus and the mashed potatoes, that killed me. I had to go back and play it a couple times. I clipped it. I posted it. I loved it so much. So best analogy. Nice work, Matub.
Good job, Matub. I saw the screenshot and he had all caps. I can't remember what he said, all caps. Sometimes my mom will send me a text in all caps, and I'm like, Mother, you can't send me a text in all caps. You're yelling at me. I'm very sensitive to that. But his was funny, and I wrote back. I can't remember what my comment was, but it was in all caps too. I was like, what? He's fun. He's fun. I'm so glad we've been really blessed with just fantastic guests on our.
Oh my
I mean, we're
goodness.
blessed with such great content creators. Let's just face it. That's why we're here.
But like the kindness that so many of them have shown to like come and spend time with us and have a conversation with us has been really wonderful. And we have no spoilers, but we have a lot of great guests coming up in this coming season of our show.
Yes, our guest list is just amazing. I can't believe it. It's just, I remember after our first year, I was like, well, do you think maybe for our second year we could ask our first year people to come back, because everyone said they would come back, and it's like we're going to not be doing that until like 5 years.
I know, right?
The way
a lot of people we want to talk to still.
There's so many people we want to meet and talk to, and hopefully our audience is enjoying it as much as we are.
I hope so too. And if they're not, you know what? I'm having fun. So whatever.
Whatever. Yes, whatever. You're not our people. As they say, as it is said. Okay, so I'm going to take a little turn here. This is a little personal for my final superlative. And as somebody who has lived through really awful wildfires in where I live, and who's very familiar with Maui and Hawaiian Islands. I've been many times. So it's an easier vacation destination for us out here in California. It's still a long trip, but it's not as far as coming from New York. But I just can't even hardly talk about Lahaina being decimated, and the banyan court with the amazing banyan trees that are so old and so huge and so majestic. It's my favorite part of that whole area, quite honestly, because I'm a tree person. But I mean, I've probably been in every single shop on that little Main Street. It's not called Main Street. I forgot what it's called there, but
you know the area really well then.
I know the area very well, and to see it go down like that, and to have it happened here where I can see flames from all around and have to, inhale that smoke. And actually the last fires here, which was a few years ago, I remember thinking, because it's being on an island it's just so stifling to me to see what they went through. It really was frightening. And I hope everyone's thinking about our friends there. And, I remember thinking when the last fires happened, because they don't usually get as close to the coast. It's very unusual. And the last ones did. I mean, I could see the fires 3 blocks away, big flames. And I was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to run to the ocean and jump in? And that's what people had to do there.
Wow.
Yeah, they were plucking them out of the ocean because this is an island and it came so fast. So it's just really devastating. Of course, those old buildings, this is, for those who don't know it, Lahaina used to be the capital of Maui. The buildings are like from the 1700s. The downtown little area is like all clapboard. So it just went up.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But I'm like, how did this happen? Because Hawaii is so humid and wet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just really shocking. And it's kind of taken I guess I'm glad I was busy because I probably have it on all day, but I finally caught up with a little bit of the news today to see, and the death toll is still climbing. And the history that's gone, from there. And it's just really devastating. And so even if you haven't been there, think of the ones, who might need our help there.
Yeah. And, related to that, a lot of people who might be listening, people in the Packers Twitter community, Mike Kawano, really good guy. He's okay. Yeah. We have confirmed he's not being affected by it at all. Actually, he's completely separated away from it. So happy to say our friend Mike Kawano is doing just fine, fortunately. But yeah, I mean, thinking about all the people who are not so fortunate out in Hawaii, it's sad stuff.
Right, and there are fires on, I think the Big Island. I was looking at the map. I didn't have a chance to look that closely, but I really did. At first, I was like, was there a volcano? The lava flow, though they can start some fire. You can have wildfires from that too.
Sure.
There are active volcanoes there. But yeah, it could change at any time. I mean, certainly it was the right conditions, as they say. There was high winds, and I was watching the winds were just incredible. And when you have fire, that's the last thing you want. When we get fires here, it's when we have desert winds coming this way, the ocean's that way. Normally the winds coming off of the Pacific, they're going to be cooler and wetter. And so when we get what we call Santa Anas and they come this way, it's like a hot, dry wind. And that's when we'll get more wildfires here. And so it's just, it's just awful. And I mean, the whole harbor burned. I mean, the boats on the water were burning. Mm-hmm. So it's really frightening. And to live here so close to water, and we're much drier climate here, and we have wildfires here, it's also very scary to me.
Yeah. Brian Maffey is in the chat. So is Joe, by the way. Hey, Joe. And Brian Mike Quano is on Oahu, which explains why he's
on Oahu. But there are fires on the other islands too. So they have to keep an eye on it. Hi, Brian. Hey, Joe. All right.
All right. So thoughts and prayers for the folks on Hawaii.
Yeah, I had to mention it. I couldn't go on and not. That's been on my mind all day.
All right. Should I bring it to a more kind of positive note with my last superlative? All right. So my last one here. I love that you started with best game on that episode of Pack a Day with Perry Goldstein, Alex Strofe, and Andy Herman. Because my last superlative is about that same episode. So as I was listening to it, I was thinking, man, I spent an inordinate amount of time in my week listening to Andy Herman talk to himself. Like just a lot of time. And
he's
so
talking to us.
Well, sure. Let's put that. So that episode was especially fun to listen to because it's him interacting with Alex and Perry, and they all have like really good chemistry. They're all like laughing and having a good time, and that throwing out good takes, and it was a really fun episode. So instead of this being an Andy Herman shout out, this is actually an Alex Strofe and Perry Goldstein shout out for best co-hosts. For just like bringing the fun with that and giving us that other side of Andy Herman that we don't get as much of when he's, like I said, just doing his solo stuff, which is outstanding. That's why I listen to so much of it every week.
Of course.
Especially during training camp when he's doing, the quick hits afterwards, the more in-depth stuff about that day of training camp, the next morning, along with just like the constant tweeting. We talked about that last week, of course. But suffice to say, really amazing work from Alex and from Perry.
There was one part when Perry was like, "Oh, I don't know." She didn't have an answer, and then she's like, "Okay, I'll put some analysis to it." And then she like totally brought this up. I can't remember which one it was, but I was like, there you go."
That's
like,
right
no,
there.
Yeah, it's so funny, so funny. She's fun, yeah. So, so Iowa Joe said, speaking of Kawano. Okay, I need my glasses. Matt, can you read?
All right, yeah. So speaking of Kawano, Mike Kawano, who we were talking about, look towards the tweet machine. In the next couple of weeks, we may have a special announcement to make. Ooh. A special announcement maybe from our friends over at the Outback Packers podcast.
Very cool. Well, we'll watch for that, Iowa Joe. And Brian, no thank you. What? No thank you.
Oh, he doesn't want to watch for the tweets.
He doesn't want to watch them.
He doesn't want to see what Joe's going to say. I'm guessing he's just giving Joe a hard time. That's my guess. I keep misinterpreting.
Probably. All right. Well, very nice. Very nice. So now let's see. I didn't know until I looked at my app that there's more than one preseason game on tonight. So there's
I don't know that either.
I know. And there's a bunch tomorrow, not just the Packers.
Right. Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, I was like, I don't know. I forgot we were part of the NFL.
It's a whole league.
It's not just the Packers. Anyway, okay, so hold on. Let's see if I want to watch anything. I'm just like gonna check here. Not that I care about. Hold on, the scores or anything. Mm-hmm. The Texans. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I did look. I'm not interested tonight.
What's the other team? Teams that are playing. So the game's happening.
You're gonna love this one.
The
Vikings.
The Vikings
against the Seahawks.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Two of your favorites, Matt.
Well, quick note about the Seahawks. I hated them for a long time, starting from 2014 championship game going on. But I really found out I was surprised to discover last season that with Russell Wilson moving to a different team, inexplicably, I didn't hate the Seahawks anymore, even despite Pete Carroll's semi-obnoxious, sideline presence. And part of it too was from reading some more stuff about like Pete Carroll's career, and like he does the forward. He wrote the forward for Take Your Eye Off the Ball. I think he wrote the forward for that, if I remember correctly, and it was like really well written. It's like, okay, you know what, Peter Carroll deserves more of my respect. I've kind of written him off too quickly. So no, I don't hate the Seahawks anymore. Plus, you had on top of that, Tom Grossi had such a great experience out in Seattle, and like it was one of the best videos too. So it's like, you know what, I'm past that. I'm definitely past that. So
I love that. He's bringing us all together.
Yes,
more love. No, that's great. I've always had a lot of respect for Pete Carroll. I do appreciate when he doesn't do the gum thing, but I get it. Because I'm kind of like that. I'm real high energy. I'm not hyper, but I have to be moving. So I can relate, but I just don't like the gum chewing thing. But I haven't seen him chewing the gum lately. So, but I think I think I feel the same way. Gino, remember I did that part that piece on Gino Smith. He's not like, I liked him until I did that research on him, and I'm like, I don't think I like him as much as I don't like Russell Wilson, but I like the rest of the team, and I liked Richard Sherman. I love Richard Sherman. I just saw him. Somebody was replaying it was in Spanish, but I was able to understand it. It was like a Family Feud game, and it was the 49ers against, I forgot what team it was. The Seahawks, because Richard Sherman was. And so it was like from 2019, and it was really fun. And Richard Sherman was so cute in it, and I like him. Okay, so those are the only 2 games tonight, so that's why I'm not watching.
I mean, if you're gonna talk about like likable former Seahawks players, what about Marshawn Lynch? That guy's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
Yeah,
so
he's great. Does he work for one of the networks now? Did he get a job with one of them?
I don't know. I've seen him on some like TV shows in the last couple of years, like guest spots and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know if he is or not.
Well, cheater coach, are we talking about the Patriots?
Right. It sounds like we're talking about the Patriots. Brian said, for those listening, Brian Maffey said in the chat here, I still hate them having a cheater as a coach. Lol. So I don't know.
That was the refs, not the coach, wasn't it? Or no? What?
Yeah, what are you talking about, Brian?
Elaborate, Brian. Please elaborate on why you hate the Seahawks. And of course, he's LOLing, so we know. But how did he cheat? How did he cheat? Tell us when. Give us the details. Give us the details. How did he cheat? I don't know. Yeah.
Might have to just Google it later.
I think it was the refs. I'm thinking maybe Bill.
Oh, we talked about in college. Yes. Okay, so because I'm not at all familiar with that. So we're both trying to put it on the screen here. I'll get it done. There we go. So Brian said when he was at USC. So I don't know about that era at all. I'll have to look into that.
Okay. So. Okay, well, that was a very long time ago, but hopefully he's
reformed his ways.
I doubt. I was going to say it, and then I'm like, he probably. Most people don't.
So as to say, two games tonight we're not going to watch is what you're saying.
Yeah,
especially because of preseason.
Get them out of the way. Those Thursday night football games.
Yeah. Oh God. Last year's Thursday night games. Oof.
Well, and this year, this wasn't on Amazon. This wasn't on Prime. It was on the regular NFL only. So, yeah. And Iowa Joe says it was a pay-to-play type thing. Oh.
Okay. I'm going to look it up later. But
the whole college team players not getting paid. The whole thing is a mess.
Sure.
It's like it's awful. It's awful. I mean, don't even get me started on that. So we have to do a whole episode on that. That'll be one of my superlatives.
Yeah, we'd have to do a whole episode on it. Speaking as somebody who, works closely to that, I have thoughts, but let's save that for another time.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. Well, Maddie, any final thoughts before we bring her home tonight?
No, just I guess preseason is a time That's weird because the games aren't as exciting, but this is a chance to get excited about some of the people who are on the bubble and, might make those roster spots. People who are really like working hard and putting their all into it. So, I think if you're feeling like, man, this stupid preseason games are boring, like, refocus your attention, watch for those like exciting players trying to like make a difference. Cause this is their chance. And, we'll see some exciting stuff happen. Hoping to see Jonathan Owens like really show everyone that he is the dude for our team. And for example, other than that, just Dawn, football's back.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting and it's back, but I'm glad you brought that humanity to it too, because these guys have worked their whole lives to this point, and some of them I hate the week that we cut, because after this we got cuts. And
do you know the schedules for that? Because I heard there's only one cut down day this year. Like it's much less.
A little different. Yeah. It's a little
I'll look into that, but
I know, but still, not everybody can stay. So yeah, that's kind of sobering. But hopefully, it is kind of nice that there's the other football leagues now that are starting to gain a little bit of momentum.
That's true.
To
Sometimes those guys make it up to the NFL. So that's what I got. So any final thoughts from you, or should I bring it home?
That was it.
All right. Well, friends, of course, you'll find links in our show description for everyone we mentioned, so please check it out. Also, we'd love to have a chance to interview you and shout you out if you're a subscriber and a football fan. If you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest on our podcast, even yourself, please let us know. Our DMs are open on all the social platforms. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, and we're talking about YouTube, podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, like anything else like that, all the platforms, all the subscriptions. That is the best way. When you subscribe to our podcast, got myself just off track there. You help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family.
Yes, Maddie, that's right. Because we love you. We're so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and to have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod. And we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
Football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad stuff happens.